And now it's my pleasure to hand you over to moderator David Peller, and Managing Director, Travel and Hospitality for Amazon Web Services, to run the next panel, Funding for the Next Billion Users. On the panel, we have Susli Lee, Venture Partner from Monks Hill Ventures. We have Frederic Barou, who's Senior Vice President, Online Travel Companies, Amadeus, and Louise, Daley, CEO and Partner, Future Now Capital. So over to you, David.
My goodness, Louise is taller than usual. It's scary. Good morning, good afternoon, welcome. Amazing to be here. The internet and battery life for mobile phones has become the new Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I can see everyone desperately holding on to their battery chargers right here. But the internet, what we take for granted, it's incredible to think of the amount of content that is created today in just 1 second. Less time than it took for us to come up on stage. 1,100 Instagram posts or photos in a second. 10,000 tweets in a second, 96,000 Google searches in a second, 131,000 gigabytes of internet traffic in 1 second, 3.1 million emails sent, most of them to me and their junk. But at the midpoint of this year, remarkable to think that about 60% of the world's population is currently online. 4.7 billion users. But of course, that means that 40% are not yet online. They're not yet taking advantage or have the opportunity to benefit from all of that diverse content and, of course, spam and internet. So while 9 in 10 internet users or members of the population in the northern and western markets and hemisphere are online and take the internet for granted, it's part of their daily life and routine, there are others in other parts of the world who have yet to experience the connected world. So what does this mean for us? Well, we've just heard the WiT Startup 21 pitches, an amazing group of entrepreneurs and founders who are looking to bring technology and innovation forward. But what does it take for a travel startup to succeed today? What are investors looking for? What is it going to mean? Do you try to target the existing users? Are you looking to bring new users online? And so to discuss this, we have an incredible collection of individuals who know the internet and know travel and hospitality. Delighted to have joining us from Sydney, Australia, our good friend Louise, Daley, former group deputy CEO of Accor, and now an investor, Susli from the investment community, and Frederic representing the technology and travel space. So a collection of incredible minds to dive deeper on what it's going to take to bring the next 1 billion users onto the internet. And so with that, Louise, 1 billion users, is that what you think of as an investor? Is that what you're considering when you're evaluating a potential investment?
Not specifically, and David, lovely to see you, and I would have loved to be there with everyone, but I answered that in 2 ways. So when I was at Accor, we looked at how the investee company was informing the future of travel and hospitality and how that could provide a digital layer to connect our customers. So there were many millions of customers. But what we look at now in Future Now Capital, we're a growth investor. So we invest money into scale-up, the ISVs who are building on the cloud. They're solving enterprise problems, and we do it in partnership with Microsoft, with a specific focus to Microsoft. And I was trying not to say Microsoft too many times, David, because I know it hurts, but so what we look at specifically is more the essentially the product. What is it doing? The total addressable market. Does it have customers already? Because we'll only invest in scale-ups. The quality of those customers, what does that say about what we think is the potential scale? And so we look at it at a different lens. We're not really looking at the next billion, because there's investing in enterprise solutions. It can take a long time to get to 1 billion users. You can go broke doing that. But there's a lot of room to play between 0 and 1 billion.
Got it. And so, Frederic, as a travel community, what do you think we need to do to open up the internet and appeal to the next billion?
Thanks, David. I think when it comes to internet infrastructure, I'm not an expert in this, but I would say we all notice that it's growing like crazy. 5G now is available everywhere, mostly in many countries. Having Wi-Fi on board on plane is common. So infrastructure is growing like crazy and people get access to internet. The question is, how do we bring these people into travel and buying travel product? I think the first thing is we need to restore trust and confidence in the process. I flew last night over here from Europe, and I can tell you the process is painful. It's very manual, a lot of breaking points, so there's a lot to rebuild this. And then we need to look at the next billion as very different from the first billion. I think those people have different value, different behavior. So if you look at the funnel of decision, I think they will have flexibility. They will want to have a Amazon-like type of experience. So they will want to be able to, send the product they don't like, cancel it, refund it very easily. They will want to pay very flexibly, with a lot of flexibility, digital payment. So all this type of behavior that they have today in their today's social life, they will want to see it in travel as well. And we are, I think, pretty far from this. So there's a lot of innovation needed to keep simplifying and making it streamless for the users.
Got it. And Susli, as an investor, you see countless proposals every day. What's hot right now? What are you looking at, and what's appealing to you from the investment landscape?
Thanks, David, and great to be here with everybody. So for those of you who may not know, Muscle Ventures is an early stage, typically Series A investor, tech investor in Southeast Asia. And so we're a generalist fund, but we have made investments in travel and hospitality in the past. To be honest, I think the top 3 verticals, if I look at investment activity in this region, has still primarily come from fintech, e-commerce, and SaaS. However, within that, we've seen some trends that, funnily enough, or maybe expectedly so, were also picked up by some of the pitch contestants. And so some of those themes that I'm seeing, which we're very excited in investing in, are Gen Z technology. So this is technology that's primarily adopted by digital native users or digital first businesses. There's something around creator economy. And so this is really commerce and monetization that's driven by content creators. So we're seeing, trends like social commerce, trends like influencer commerce. And again, you're also seeing that being picked up by some of the pitch contestants, as well as the last thing I think is this idea of the future of work, the future of learning, the future of experiences, and how that's getting delivered using technology. So the idea of customized and personalized experiences, we're already seeing that as part of COVID in education in particular, but I think we're going to be seeing more of that as well in work and in delivering travel and hospitality experiences.
Got it. And Fred, you have a global perspective. You deal with technology companies of every size and type. So what are some of the trends you're seeing in online travel right now? What's driving the innovation, and where's that coming from?
Well, I think the first trend we see is that people want to travel. People want to go back. They want to fly again. We just did a survey in September. We surveyed about 10,000 people, and 77% replied they want to be in the air again. They want to travel from every country. So that's trend number 1. It's pretty basic, but we need to get them. The second is health, security, confidence again. So people being able to travel seamlessly, as I said before. Digitalization is a big trend. So it hit very hard on the industry when we had COVID because of a lot of operation were very manual, a lot of human touch. So digitalizing, automation is top of the agenda for everybody in the industry. Curated content, so people will want more personalized, we call it hyper-personalization now. So really, really close to what I like, what I do, and being able to grab my intent beyond just going onto a travel brand website. So what is my intent way before this? Capturing this data, we're pretty far from this in the travel industry, but then this is where hyper-personalization will come. Curated destination, untapped destination. We see a lot in our product now, people looking and searching for underserved destination. which are becoming more and more appealing for people as well. So these are the top trends we see.
Now, before the pandemic hit, I think we're also seeing in more mature markets, Fred, that online, the sort of penetration of online reached something of a plateau. So what's the barrier to kind of getting us almost entirely online, do you think, for travel selling?
Well, I think now we heard it from the Focusrite stats this morning. It's actually growing faster. I think COVID created the appeal for people to go more digital, more online. And I don't think they will go back to less of online. I don't think people will go back to offline, sorry, a lot more than before. So again, great product, great experience. We bring people to online, being where they are. So the super app, when travel will be in every super app that people use, then they will stay there, right? They will book from there, they will shop from there. So for me, it's being where the people are is going to be critical, and they won't necessarily go to a travel brand. They will go to their Grab, they will go to their, their typical application that they use.
So a change of channels. Louise, talking of changing channels, you've gone from the hotelier to the financier. It might be something like gamekeeper turned poacher or the other way around. I'm not sure exactly. But like so many other brands, Accor has been really focused on driving its direct distribution. Maybe from an investor's perspective, you might be interested in stimulating competition to that. So how are you seeing things evolve from your purview?
Well, if I talk just a few minutes about Accor, when you talk about customer acquisition and online bookings or direct online bookings, the actual acquisition of the customer is only one part of the role of a hotel manager or hotelier. So, you have to put it in the context of everything they're trying to do. I do believe, though, and I'm increasingly seeing it across not just hospitality and travel, but across sort of modern commerce, if you like, in the retail landscape. That for me, I truly believe that where the content sits is where the prize really is, and that the ownership of that content should be in a more prime position, if you like. So, Accor is, say, the owner of the content as the manager, but at the end of the day, it's about the technology enablement and that consumer experience enablement. And that goes to sometimes the latest technology, who's doing that with the least amount of friction, and who's doing it in partnership best. There's many opportunities around loyalty, and I'm seeing that evolve faster than ever before with the joining of loyalty and payments. But whoever I think is able to drive that technology piece to reduce friction, and let's face it, hospitality and travel is an incredibly fragmented industry and commercially very complex. Having said all of that, the Fusion Out Capital, we're working specifically with that group that I won't mention out of Redmond, but and we're working specifically to solve challenges within their industry cloud solution. And today they have certain priority industry cloud solutions, and hospitality and travel isn't one of them. So that either speaks to the complexity in the industry or potentially the size of the prize. So I think for a while we'll continue to see this sort of fragmented approach to the solution. At the end of the day, for me, it comes down to who's going to do it best for the consumer.
Got it. And so, I mean, for travel and hospitality, we've seen disruption like never before over the past 20 months or so. I, for one, am certain that the innovations that we're going to see of this time are going to transform the way that we eat, sleep, stay, and experience the world for a long time to come. So, Susli and Fred and Louise, I'm curious, is there an innovation that you've seen or you've backed over this time that you think is going to have persistence and stick around?
Yeah, I can think of one. We call it the traveler ID, which is the concept of having an ID that follows you everywhere throughout the journey. But of course, data security, data protection embedded, that would, again, simplify the process, seamless airport operation, seamless check-in for a disease, and COVID is being one, of course. entering a hotel, airline check-in. So this traveler ID will be your identity, your passport, but related to travel. And we are working very hard on this. We have already a few customers using it. And for me, it's a key to bringing to the next level of easy travel again.
Susli?
It's funny that you mentioned that.
For me, David, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll do it quickly, and then Louise, you can go.
I'm jumping.
It's funny to hear you say that, Frederic, because we actually, Monksel Ventures actually recently invested in a digital verified identity for everybody, right? It's called Vita, which essentially is powering not just travel, but the idea of eKYC, the idea of being able to sort of log in once and have access to a bunch of different things in a secure way that's powering not just travel, but consumption, payments, etc. And Louise, I picked up on that as well. You know, the idea of payments and finance, fintech infrastructure really being embedded across customer experiences and how that's driving not just transactions, but also fulfillment, as well as just, you know, the opportunity to also to upsell and cross-sell. I think you're seeing a confluence of technology and sectors that are going to hopefully be propelling our propensity to travel and consume hospitality again.
Go on, Louise. Squeeze one in.
I agree with that, Susli. One of the things that we're seeing quite a bit of is you know, data protection and cybersecurity. So that to me, you know, through COVID, and I think this will enhance hospitality and travel ultimately, is that there are ways of very securely protecting your data, but enabling you to share it as you wish. And so that's a really interesting evolution. But also, we'll go back to one of our old favourites, which is the mobile phone. You know, through COVID, what we've seen is, I talk about food and beverage and check-in to hospitality venues. I mean, my 86-year-old mother's using it now with the QR code check-in. I mean, that's exploding, and I think we're seeing payments as an enabler, but better and better data security and protection, which is sorely needed, of course.
And so we've just watched the startup pitches here on the WiT Experience stage, and Louise and Susli as investors here. Any of those startups you think you'd like to back?
I'll go quickly. I am.
Susli, you go first.
Not a commitment here, but I'm particularly interested actually in the cross-section between climate change and travel. I mean, I think that, you know, a lot of that sort of innovation I haven't seen coming out of this region. That might be a mix of different factors. I think the regulatory environment isn't quite as supportive, perhaps, but I would love to be able to, you know, invest in something that really pushes sort of the idea of climate change and the way we consume everything, not just travel, but of course transport is a big element of that. Yeah.
Louise?
And I'm sorry, because there's a slight delay, right? So I keep seemingly butting in, but I'm not. There's a bit of a delay. Sorry. My look, I have a well-known love of anything in food and beverage tech, so that would give you some indication of where I like to play. But also, I think there is going to be continued opportunities expand around virtual reality. So I think that's a really, really interesting space to watch and to invest in.
Got it. And Fred, from an Amadeus perspective, you obviously collaborate with a lot of startups today, but was there anything that you've seen on the stage during the course of the startup pitch that particularly resonates with where Amadeus is going?
Well, David, you and I are judges, so I'm not sure I can actually really say anything here. But no, I think what's interesting is...
Let us into a secret, maybe?
Is the space. I think I watched what type of... So green is still up there very much. I think it disappeared during COVID. Kind of sustainability was gone because that was not the topic, but it's back. Destination content, I think that's something that nobody has really managed to crack. So it keeps coming back in all these events. You see destination and fintech for sure. I agree that for me, that's the great next innovation there.
And let me open it up to each of the panelists here. I mean, in terms of the diversity of the speakers and the innovations that we've seen on the startup stage today, anything that particularly surprised you, or any thoughts that if you were mentoring any of these founders, any specific pearls of wisdom you'd like to share with them?
Funny, yesterday I did a count because I thought there was a lot of European startup. But I did a count. We started with 30, right? We had 30 competitors, and a third of them were from Asia Pacific. So I thought it was a lot less. Actually, 11 out of 30 were from Asia. So quite a good number for here.
Susli, any thoughts on that? Any surprises from the stage today?
I mean, well, one thing was I was very surprised that some of the themes that we've been looking at, just generally, not just within travel and hospitality, have also been picked up, right? So, you know, the Gen Z stuff, the content creator economy, the customized, personalized experience. I do think that the ability of tech to fundamentally sort of create very hyper-localized, very sort of communal, almost relationship-driven type experiences. That's something that I'm excited to see.
Got it. Louise?
I have to admit, I haven't seen all of them today. I did read through the decks, and there's a diversity of approach, but I think it's additive to some of the things that are already there. I'm not seeing a lot of new, which is not a bad thing, right? There are many, many ways to solve a problem. And I think that's more the style of what we see, and part of the challenge that we have as an industry is the fragmentation and the complexity around the commercial model.
Yeah, the complexity is fascinating. If you go back to after 9/11, you'll remember that all the new security restrictions got brought in, and sort of literally feeling like you were getting naked and giving a DNA sample at the airport became second nature to us frequent travelers. And I'm curious, given the challenges that we face today with having to take PCR tests and reveal more personal information, how many of those changes will stick as we move into the future? And it's interesting, I think, to see how startups are playing in those spaces and whether they can really help us move towards that panacea of frictionless travel, which is where we were trending before the pandemic. So just curious if you have any thoughts on that.
We have a big dependency on the government. So that's the major, I think we all want frictionless, and the players in the industry and the travelers, we all want frictionless. But the problem is the government changing the rules all the time. And not being very stable in what they say, and that's creating a technical challenge for everybody to follow.
As a true British man, I was taught never to discuss religion or politics at the dinner table, so we'll move on very quickly from that topic. We have just a couple of minutes left, so we'll do a quick wrap-up in true Sehun style, and given it's her birthday, we'll pay homage to her with a rapid-fire round, so I'm going to ask my colleagues here to be quick in answering this. So, Susli, I think, take a market or build a market?
I was thinking about this, but rapid fire, right? Okay. I think ultimately it comes down to the sort of product that you're trying to push, right? The example of take a market was Facebook. It wasn't the first to build. They were Friendsters, they were, MySpace, but they came in and just executed really, really well. The build a market one was, I guess, smartphone, right? iPhone was build a market. So it's a question of what is the technology you're building? Where is the timing of the consumer behavior evolution that makes it possible for you to create a sticky solution?
Got it. Fred, online travel agencies or brand.com?
Ooh. Okay, so both of them are our customers. So I need to be very careful what I'm going to say. But based on my current job title, I would say OTA. But my job is also to make sure they work together better. So.
What about your last job title?
Yeah, OTA too.
Louise, 1 billion users or $1 billion?
I'm going to go $1 billion because, I'm a finance girl at heart. But I think it's proof that you can monetize something. And so to me, billion or $1 billion users, it depends how many dollars you've got to stay the distance. If you're going to go users, how do you actually monetize them in the end? So I take the dollars, because I always think to get your next dollar, it's easier if you've already got $1. So I go dollars.
Awesome. We've covered a lot of ground today. As we think about building back for travel, the phrase building back better, I think we've heard a lot about the commentary of the importance of sustainability for the industry. And I hope that we can all take that as a message of key importance as we think about bringing back the industry that is so passionate to all of us. And with that, I'd love to thank Susli, Louise, and Frederic, and wish you all a great rest of the WiT experience. Thank you very much,
David.
indeed.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.